So, for those of you who are returning, this will be stuff you've heard before, but it's always good to revisit. And there are people here I don't know, so I don't want to make any assumptions. First thing to say is that the movement of time in Taoism and Qigong is not linear the way we perceive it. It's not even planar. So I believe, and we can assume that our practice with our elements and our body and our emotions not only benefits us, it reverberates outward, but it can also reverberate back in time to help our ancestors, forward in time to help our descendants. So I like to call them in before I practice. They support us and enjoy our practice as much as we do. So sitting well, standing well if you prefer, but just take a moment and bring your awareness and your intention to your posture and your structure. If you're sitting, feel your sits bones kind of stack gently, because we want always our posture and structure to be natural. But gently stack the weight of your ribs and your shoulders over your hips. You can roll your head gently, slightly forward to help your crown connect directly up to heavenly yang energies. Your feet are on the floor to connect with earthly yin energies. And close your eyes to help you better visualize what we're going to do next. So feel yourself sitting in a space. Of course, you are physically doing that, but if you have a wall behind you, it's unimportant. Feel the spaciousness of your space. And we're going to call in piece by piece a beautiful circle around us. That circle shouldn't be so large that we can't connect with it, so small that we are kind of compressed by it. Whatever size your circle is today is the right size. Cast your attention to the left side of your circle and invite into that part of your circle your ancestors. This is your ancestors in the broadest idea of that. Can be your older siblings, older people in your life who you're connected to, but it certainly is your parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and we keep going back and back in time. I learned this from a teacher who says we go all the way back to the monkeys and the trees. Just give them a breath or two to arrive and assemble that part of our circle. Lovely. Trust that they will keep coming, keep settling in. You don't have to stay laser focused for things to work. Instead, let's turn our attention to the right side of our circle and call into that part our descendants. Also, broad as possible definition. Your children, obviously, grandchildren, but also younger siblings, younger friends, the offspring of cousins and friends. All these that will live on beyond us, come after us in one way or another. Ask them to join our circle to support and also benefit from our practice. And then behind us, let's invite in to close that part of the circle behind us, our teachers. Anyone who may have been in that position with us, from our first grade teacher all the way through college, through adulthood, but also people who might have taught us how to tie knots, cook spaghetti, anyone who has fostered us in some way, and then expanded outward to artists and writers, musicians, playwrights, actors, anyone who has inspired us as well. And lastly, in front of us, Renee calls that our karmic team. And these are the people who, through support or challenge, offer us the moment to decide to be our best or higher self. So, yes, ancestors, descendants, teachers can also sit here, but so can that person in your life who aggravates the hell out of you. Every time you have a conflict, you have a choice. And we hope that we can rise to it, but we also forgive ourselves if this time we can't quite do that. Allow your karmic team to arrive. Lovely. Let's just take a few breaths in the center of this circle to allow it to kind of imprint into our chi body, into our mind. So let your eyes flutter open. Trust that they will be there, certainly for our entire time together. I invite you, after we separate, you can release ancestors, descendants, teachers, and karmic team. I do a lot of work with my ancestors, so I don't release them. They're with me all the time. That said, I will forget to remind you to release them if you want. So just make a note to yourself to check in after we're done, and if it feels right, you release them the same way you invited them in. Just say, thank you, ancestors, I release you. Thank you, thank you. One part at a time, you give each respect and attention. Today, we're going to start working with spring energies. I'm kind of relieved. Winter has been cold and dark. And I've said this before, but it made such a mark on me that I will say it again. My mother lived to be 96. I'm going to be 70 this year. And I will never forget when she was in her late 80s, about this time of year, she turned to me and said, "We survived." So even with all of the technology and heaters and sweaters, there is that very deep primal part of us that realizes that winter is difficult and even dangerous. And in spring, we can open and expand and relax, and things grow along with our opening. So wood element is the element of spring, and that's the movement and the feeling of wood element. But before I launch into wood element, for anyone who's not familiar with the Taoist 5 elements, I kind of want to give an overview. I'll start talking, and if I feel the need to pull up some of my images, I will. But because this is an intro class, please keep in mind that whatever I touch on, first thing, you can ask me questions at any time. Don't wait to the end, just unmute yourself and ask. If you wait, you'll forget, and I may not remember what you're referring to. So in the moment is better. Luann, you unmuted.
I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay.
That happened automatically. Let me mute myself again.
I thought you were jumping in with a question already. So there are actually two sets of 5 elements. And one you will find in Tibet and Japan. It exists in China, but the Chinese set is what we use in our healing and our Qigong. So as context, I don't know the Chinese words, I know the Japanese words. The Tibetan and Japanese set is called the Godai, means 5 big things. And those are elements that are existing in the earth, in the cosmos, in us. They're not so mutable. So I use them in my martial arts because in the martial art I trained in, you develop yourself almost by coming up against these unchangeable big things. It's very similar. Earth is there, fire and water, but instead of metal, we have wind and we have void, or like the fertile void where everything is about to happen. The set we use, and that this series will dig into, is called the Go Gyo, or the 5 doings. And those are the ones that we can guide and influence and insert ourselves in these goings and affect them. That is why we can heal. That is why we can cultivate ourself, our strength, our, points of view. Yeah. So thank goodness this constant flow and change is our existence. Often they say humans don't really like change. And of course, if something's ending that we've enjoyed, it's always a little sad. But just keep in mind that without that constant flow, if we got a stubbed toe, we would have a stubbed toe forever. So we don't want that. And lots of worse things than stubbed toes too. So these elements, to me, it's always been very helpful to view them as a lens through which I can look at my emotional life, my physical health. But we can also turn it outward and look at the other residents of the planet. Each of the 4 directions has a elemental feeling to it. The 5th is, of course, the center. The 5 elements are. We'll start with wood because that's the element of our season of spring. Wood generates fire. That's an easy one for us to understand because we fuel fire with wood and have done so since primeval times. Fire makes earth. And if we think about the ash from a fire, the ash creates earth. So that's a reminder and a logic to it. Earth creates metal. So that one's a little less intuitive. But if we think about molecules or little tiny bits of metal in the earth through the millennia, it comes together through the movements of the earth to create pieces of metal that we can perceive and use. So in that way, that pressure of the earth can create metal. And then metal creates water. Also not intuitive. 2 images that helped me in the beginning. One was a martial image that the metal of your sword attracts condensation and gathers water that way. Less martial, like it better, more poetic, is the resident of the earth governed by metal are mountains. So when we have clouds, which is moisture, right, in the air, coming up and meeting a mountain, releases its water. And then easy to understand, water creates wood, right? Because plants, trees need water. So this is the generative cycle and the cycle we use in our practices to heal and cultivate. There are other cycles that comes later, maybe, but also another advice, I don't want to say rule, of our practice is we always practice as a beginner. And part of that is, I assume I'm going to make mistakes. So if I have a practice which is about destroying one element or the other, you can, even with the word destroy, you know, if you make a mistake, you're going to have some suffering imbalance to fix. But if I generate gently, because the practices work best when we're gentle, I just generate my wood, I generate my fire and go around the circle and around the circle. And in that way, I cultivate a balance and a health that is, let's say, long lasting. So I touched on mountains being the earth resident of the element metal. What I'm mostly talking about is in our internal life. And I'll circle back to that because that's where our practices live. But this is a lens. We can view the entire planet through the lens of 5 elements. We have the mountains and their metal. And wood is obvious. Everything from lichen to redwood trees are governed by the wood element, right? Our plant kin. Fire, center of our earth is fire. It leaks out, we can say leaks, in volcanoes and crevices, but also the sun that shines down and is responsible for our being here, life on earth being here, evolving, fire. And then earth, also obvious, but perhaps I'll do a tangent here and note that the word earth can be confusing because there is an elemental energy of earth, which is about stability and being centered and grounded. But there's also the planet Earth. And in our work, that's 2 different things. Just English kind of conflated them. So we have to bring a little attention and specificity to our thoughts about that. Let's see. We would also include in earth all the little beings that live inside the earth that we don't notice, that we can't really even see unless we go and look for them. They are earth creatures as well. And from earth, we have metal. I mentioned the mountains. I haven't mentioned water, but the waters of the earth. I mean, we know we need water. I'm amused by every time the percentage of a human body that's water is mentioned, it's a different percentage. But we can more or less say that it's somewhere between 60% and 75%. That 15% is big, but we are filled with water. And it's not contemporary filtered water. We're floating in ancient ocean water. And I think that's worth sitting with for quite a while. So I think I went through all 5 of them as residents of the earth. And this lens also allows us to view time. Springtime is wood element time. Summer, fire. Autumn is metal. Winter is water. And then we come back to wood. That's only 4. Earth is special. Usually whenever it shows up, it's a little different. Because if you can imagine an elemental activity or manifestation shifting from water to wood or fire to metal, that's kind of huge. So earth element kind of rises up, becomes more present, and adds its stability so we can make that transition without things getting too chaotic. And the directions, north is water, winter, water, winter, nighttime. East is green, wood, morning. South, noon, fire, summer. West is metal, kind of dusk to early evening. And then we come back to nighttime and water and winter. There are layers and layers. The other one I wanted to just mention, the planets are also governed by elemental energies. And we have 5 planets that the Chinese were able to view with their very, very old optics. And then there are celestial animals, which are very close to our constellations, also associated with the elements. Before I go on, any questions? I'm going to turn to our inner elements, which has more to do with our practice. Or comments or questions, especially people who have come before. Maybe I missed something or got something wrong. Okay. So the centerpiece practice of our spring series, our spring practice series, is this 6 healing sounds. 5 of those sounds work with the elements. And then a last 6th sound is kind of a whole body sound. In that practice, we utilize several of we call them attributes of the elements. So I'm going to stay with the liver because that's our springtime energy. Maybe before I do that, I'll do a tour. So liver, wood, green, spring. Anal, you have a question? Yeah. Okay. I get a little click when someone unmutes, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened.
It happened to Luann too. It must be a Zoom thing. From liver, we have heart, fire, color red. Notice I'm not going into the emotions yet. Down to our spleen and earth. And then up to our lungs and metal. And then from our lungs and metal, we go to our kidneys and water. So those 5 organs are paired. These are yin receptive organs, and they're paired with a yang partner. Little yin yang tidbit, maybe, factoid. Yin is receptive, yang is active. So we want to talk to the receptive organ, and that receptive organ will convince, cultivate, heal their partner. If I tried to ask my gallbladder, which is the partner to my liver, can you be a little less angry? Can you release that anger energy? The gallbladder is going to say, nope, go away. Maybe get mad because anger is the emotion. But the liver will take in the practice and be transformed by it, slowly perhaps, but transformed. So what we want, I guess, what we want from our practice is to transform our unaware emotional life, our perhaps culture trained emotional life, to one that is more calm, more open, more creative, more loving. I mean, make your own list. And the way we do that is spending time with the difficult emotion and using sound and color and visualization, but then, and allowing that difficult emotion to exist, not running away, not repressing, but then we transition to spending time with the wisdom, positive emotion. So liver is anger, the wisdom is kindness. The dichotomies are not always neat, but in the beginning, I asked myself honestly, have I ever been angry and kind at the same time? I don't think so. I don't think it's even possible. You can fake kindness, or you can compartmentalize your anger and do kindness, but it's like oil and water. It's not possible. So as we cultivate our kindness, the energy of our anger transforms, but we also are kind of expanding that part of ourselves, and it compassionately, we have less room for the burden of anger. This is done energetically. So it doesn't really matter why you're angry. It doesn't matter what your grievances are. What matters is that you make time and space for that anger, almost as a somatic experience. If we stay intellectual, we're cheating ourselves of the practice. But it does have a learning curve, especially, I think, in our culture with anger, because anger is not embraced. It's considered a bad thing, a negative emotion. So we've spent a lot of time making reasons, excuses, and so forth for our anger. So we have to kind of work with the practice to the point where it's just me here. I'm not yelling at anybody. Nobody else is going to be hurt by me being with my anger. So maybe I just get to be with my anger. And you're changing your emotional landscape and almost, I would say, your emotional habits, maybe. Yeah, it's remarkable. And so asking if there are any questions about that sort of overview of the practice. I know I haven't gone into the nuts and bolts of it yet. But I can say that after so next year will be 30 years I've been doing these practices. Really hard for me to get angry. So hard. One of my jokes is that I was having a conflict with my husband, and he wasn't taking my desire for him not to do something seriously. So I pretended to get angry, and then he was taking it seriously because he was coming at it from, normal point of view. It wasn't making me angry. I just didn't want him to do it. And in a way, yeah, in that case, it was not on my side to be so slow to anger. In general, 70 years old with a blood pressure of 70 over 110, it's very good not to be angry. So I guess that's my little advertisement for the practice. each class will start off with Qigong, which is movement, breath, and visualization. And we're going to stand up and do some of that in half a second. And then we will sit and do seated practice. In our case, this series, it will be working with elemental energies. The 6 healing sounds and other kind of practices that derive from that or focus on, I guess, a facet of that practice. Tonight, I wanted us to do lots of Qigong. Then we'll sit and I'll check the time. And my ideal is we do the liver sound as a complete practice. Now, normally you would not choose one organ and do that practice, because when you think anger is your issue, you're probably wrong. My teacher Masahiro said, when we diagnose ourselves, usually we're wrong. So if I have an anger issue, or I'm angry today, I do all 6 of the sounds, because it might very well be that my anger is derived from my fear. Fear is the emotion of the kidneys. And so as I'm doing my wood element liver sound, my kidneys are just going, oh, I'm afraid, you're abandoning me, so I'm more afraid. So always do all of them, but this is a slice of the series, a slice of the practice. And I don't think anyone's going to be harmed by tasting the whole practice through one organ, because I want to lead you through after that a practice that we will revisit multiple times, I think, called embryonic breathing. And in that practice, we deal with the fire of the heart and the water of the kidneys. And because it's such a alchemical, simple practice, you will have the whole practice, even if I never see you again. And the video of this class will be posted, so you could go to YouTube and find the point it starts and do that practice forever. It's one of my favorite practices. But for now, let's stand up and take care of our tissues, our physical body. So, I'm not wearing my earpiece, but I believe you can hear me okay. I'll try to speak up. Just as we sat well in the beginning of our class, I want you to stand well now. And what that means is to stand with your feet parallel under your hips, more or less. If you're someone with very broad shoulders, you might want to go under your shoulders instead of your hips. But Qigong is very forgiving. We want to be with our body rather than forming ourselves into a particular structure. Unlock your knees, which sinks your pelvis a tiny bit, and just bring your attention to your tailbone. And if it's more for women than men, if your rear is out, try to roll your hips so that your tailbone points directly to the earth. Of course, shoulders are down. Engage your abdomen gently and roll your head like we did before, so your crown center points to heaven. And just go into your internal landscape. Take a few breaths, peruse your body and see if you're holding tension anywhere. If your shoulders are a little high, drop them. Good. So let's take a minute and grow our roots, because we're going to do, excuse me, stretching with vowel sounds, which is kind of an upward thing. So lift your toes and kind of grab a little more of the floor, opening the sole of your feet. and connect with the chi field around you. I think the most direct way to do that is to visualize it as if you're standing in a cloud of golden light or golden mist. You use that golden color as the general chi visualization. And inhale, fill your whole body with it. Exhale it out your feet into the earth. A couple more times, and each time you exhale into the earth, grow roots like a big, strong, healthy tree. Good. And you can return to feel those roots, but you don't need to stay super focused on them to keep yourself rooted. So let's go up. We lace our fingers, reverse our hands, and we don't want to lock anything, but we do want to lengthen ourselves upward. The first vowel sound we make is ah. Ah. Release, so relaxing your arms and to one side, don't turn, open your ribs, sound is A. Relax, go to the other side, E. Back to the center. And if you want to widen your feet, that's fine, because we're going to bend over to the sound O. O.
Just hang here for a minute. Gonna shake and nod your head to help your neck and your upper back relax. Now place your hands above your knees on your thighs and round your back. So feel like you're being pulled from your mid back up to heaven. And the sound is ooh, ooh. Stay down, hands stay where they are, but now we flatten our back and make it parallel to the floor. Lift your head. Extend your tongue as if it's an extension of your spine. Engage your tiny tendons. So hands splay, toes splay, eyes look up. Stick out your tongue and make a sound. Ah, ooh, ah, ooh. So I like to do that one as a way of warming up my joint fluids and just a gentle movement and stretch. I can do that first thing in the morning. I don't do very big or strenuous Qigong in the morning. I think it's better to allow your body to wake up slowly. But another piece of advice for any Qigong practice is before taking in Qi, which is often a big part of Qigong, we need to purge old Qi. And
I think today we're going to do this lung kind of strong purging called Tuguna Shin. I teach two versions of that. Later, we would do the elemental version, but this one is really to help our body clear phlegm stuff, bad stuff from our lungs, but at the same time, we're clearing old, stagnant, icky chi. So a little, I guess, details first. You want to breathe in a particular manner. And if you can't get it right away, you will get it eventually. But you want to fill your lower belly. So pooch out your lower belly, then your middle, your solar plexus, and then your upper, your ribs. And exhale the same way. So try to keep these pooched and exhale ribs, solar plexus, belly. So do that a couple of times. And in the beginning, you can pause the way I'm pausing when I'm instructing you, but eventually it's smooth, right? Just like any inhale or exhale. The lower belly, solar, lungs, or ribs. Exhale, ribs, solar, belly. Good. So do that a couple of more times. So as we inhale, we're going to tap. So tapping with the fingertips. And men can tap across the whole chest. Women do not tap your breast. So, the sides, underneath, on top. So as we do our funny inhale, tapping, and then hold your breath and pat with your palms. And you do it kind of hard. Do this as long as you can, comfortably hold your breath. And then you expel, but it's almost like you're that expelling breath. Visualize getting rid of whatever you don't want, getting rid of the phlegm or the congestion, upper, lower, getting rid of frustration. The emotion of the lungs is sadness. You can get rid of the heaviness of sadness or melancholy. But this is very physical. And we will eventually work with all of our emotions, but just giving you an image of how the bodies overlap. So let's do that several times. Inhale, tap as you inhale, then pat, and then inhale. So, that's more, I think. That's one. Stand, observe. Hopefully you're nicely oxygenated, but we always want to pause in between anything we do to allow our body to kind of take in the practice or the part of the practice. And also our observation kind of allows us to realize, well, I am doing something. Because Qigong can be very gentle, especially compared to many Western yogas or other Western physicalities. So speaking of that, we're going to do something very gentle. We're going to activate the strings, the chi strings of our body. So the first two things we did worked with our physical body to a greater or lesser degree. The first one, breath and gentle stretching. The Tubun-Ashim, which actually means expel filth, take in life, which is quite dramatic. And then this one, which is the 5 strings, as in musical strings of the body, is very much of the energy body. So standing well, excuse me. And we do it one element at a time. We start with the fire element, and the musical string of the fire element is the hair on the top of our head. So lengthen your neck, lengthen your spine as if you're being pulled up to heaven by your hair. That's the most string-like string. So we maintain that elongated, spacious verticality. And we place the tip of our tongue behind our teeth. And this activates the earth string of our music. And we tuck our lower belly, which lifts our perineum. Our perineum is the metal string of our energy. For our water, our teeth are together just barely, and our mouth is closed. And for wood, our wood musical string is the nails of our toes and our fingers. So your arms are down, but now straighten without overusing your muscles. Straighten your fingers toward the earth. Lift your toes and grasp and even curl the toes a little bit so your toenails point to the earth, your fingers, your nails point to the earth. Standing and visualizing the energy of your nails going into the earth as you revisit or remind your body that your fire element string is pulling you up to heaven. So this can be, after you move through those 5 details, a standing meditation posture. It's actually very forgiving, and you can maintain it for quite a while. So relax your toes and release those details from the front of your mind as we move into the 8 brocades. The 8 brocades, the first references to it, there's a conflict. Some say 900 years and some say 1200 years. In either case, it's been around for a long time. And we will begin with this gentler version. And even though this is a short series, I would like to move us into the Shaolin version, which is much more rigorous. But today, let's stay gentle. So 2 hands support one. Inhale. Legs in reverse. So I like to do this with inhale, hold my breath, but stay open, soft. My gaze is far away. Exhale. even and slow. Breath and movement should begin and end same moment. So empty your lungs. Inhale. Stay inhaling. Stay inhaling. Hold. Separating heaven or come to your heart and separate. Reach to the horizons. And we reversed our hands, but still heaven and earth. Now we inhale. Everything comes to the center. Just soften to your heart. Reach, circle. Soften, connect to the heart. I'm not giving you breath instructions. I want you to do the movement first. Is there variations on the breath? There's a lot of breath holding in Qigong. Always the instruction is to hold as long as you can and a little bit longer if it matches with the movement. In this case, exhale to come to your heart. Inhale to separate heaven and earth. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. To close this one and transition, heaven and earth. But when we get to the horizons, we just come down. Now we need a wide stance. As low as you can hold it for a while. Lower is not necessarily better. More important is once you sink, you are heaven and earth. So if you're having to bend forward to go low, you're going too low. And there are many variations on this called long without. Inhale. So this is a mudra. Open your chest. Hold. Back to your heart. Rise. Other side. And I'm looking through my two fingers. My vision is my arrow. Come back. Other side. Back. And come back to a narrower stance. This is a wise owl who looks back. So basically the body does this. I open my wrists, my elbows, my shoulders, my heart. And then come back. shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands. As I open, my head turns to one side, and if I were an owl, I would go all the way behind me, but I'm not. So I go as far as I can to one side without strain. And my eyes go too, so I don't look here, I look toward the direction I'm turning, and I come to your side. And the coordination is also important. So my head and my hands, my arms begin at the same moment and end at the same moment. Coordinate your breath also. Variations are possible, but the most direct or simple one would be inhale. Hold for a little while. And then exhale. Other side. Back out into a wider stance. This hands, especially if this is an unusual activity or posture for you, they must stay on your thighs. That will give you the stability and keep you from stumbling. This is called the big bear turns to the side. So we lever down. And I'm looking straight down at the floor. So my head is aligned with my spine. And then I circle to one side. And as I circle, the foot I'm leaving behind travels with me. So it looks like this. So the foot I've gone toward stays where it is. And then I lever down, and I lever down outside my leg. Very unusual for humans. And I come back to the center, and that moving foot returns to its original angle. And then I go to the other side. Lever down. Circle. The center. Do not lever up, roll up. And you bring your feet in. Hold. It's called two hands climb the legs. It's an odd name, but basically we want to begin by coming to our kidneys. And then as we bend down, our hands travel down the bladder meridian, down the back of our legs. We go over the top of our feet. And then our hands come up the inner front to our dantian, back to our kidneys, and then we bend backward only as far as you're confident and comfortable. Just like a little wall. Do not hold your breath. And coming up. And repeating. Down. Up. And use the word dantian. Dantian is your center of gravity, your belly. Kidneys, make sure you have good contact with your kidneys because that's keeping your back safe. And over. Back out. Notice pattern, right? Feet are in, but then we do a wide stance. Back in, wide stance after the first couple. So this is clenching fist with angry eyes. This is the most martial of the 8. So bringing yin and yang into it. If I clench my fist and hold them here and punch and they're clenched, I'm wasting so much chi. My hands might even hurt. So even though I have fists here, they're very soft, like baby fists. They're in position because I don't want to waste time or energy creating the fist. Like no excess, no waste. And I exhale. Hold. For this one, there's no circling for those that have done the Shaolin. You just bring it back. The other one. And we can coordinate the fists. So as this one's coming back, that one is coming forward. So as this one's coming forward and clenching, this one is going back and relax. So feet are all the way together. Let's do this version. You're coming down. Bring back up on your toes. And drop. A little stumble there, but that's not part of it. But the shaking is, you want to come up and drop and shake. It brings that impact vibration up, further up your body if you don't just stop. So down. Up. Up. Let's just close the Qigong here. Bring down heaven. Connect with sun, light. Draw through your body and into the earth. Connecting upward to moonlight, to the earth. And starlight. Any questions?
When we were doing the angry fists, you mentioned keeping them soft, and then you mentioned clenching. Does that mean when it's extended, you give it a clench, you tighten it a little, and then you come back and soften it?
Yeah. It's that
Okay.
alternation between complete engagement and rest. That's kind of the gift of that. And I should say that the 8 brocades were found as drawings in a tomb. So the variation you did with me tonight, there are many, many other variations, and all of them are wonderful. And any breath patterns I give you, there are also many, many variations because the drawings certainly didn't offer breath. Just I have a cute little reproduction which I can't show you because my computer's acting up, but easy to Google. Any other questions? Yeah, Luann.
Thank you. When we are gripping our toes like a tiger, curling them, are we holding those while we do the practice, that posture? Do we keep them held like that for the?
So we held the toes during the 5
Yes.
strings.
Yeah.
No. So
No. Okay. I didn't think, I wasn't
No.
sure when to release them, how long I hold them for. Yeah.
So that is, you can hold that for a long time as a practice, but if you're moving into other practices, you release it. Yeah. So when we moved from that into 8 brocades, you don't have to hold it. Any other questions? Okay.
I'm Wells. I don't know how to change my name. Sorry. This is a fake name. But I signed up as Wells. Do you have the name of the temple for the drawings? I was curious to look that up.
I can email you. Email me. You have my email? Because I
Mhm.
don't know what yours is.
Okay.
It's actually I believe it's a woman's temple, like Madam something, but I'm not 100% sure. There was some amazing discovery in her temple, but in her gravesite temple, but I don't know if it was 8 brocades.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it because I follow up with an email to everyone, so I'll include that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay.
I have another positioning question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
When we were doing our hinge forward and circles, you mentioned these are going to be feet. You mentioned, for example, if we're circling to the right, you mentioned the one that's on the opposite is the one that moves. So we're almost going, like if our upper body is here and this is the standing leg we're going towards, does that stay parallel? As so it's a straight line with our back leg, but our side leg is still going perpendicular.
Right. So one foot, you said going right, so we'll use that as an example. As I go right, my right foot stays. So in a wide stance, I should say your feet aren't parallel to each other, they're under your kneecaps. So your right, this is my right hand. Your right foot would be like this, and that's important because you're moving your weight onto it, so it's nice and stable. The left foot, as you move, follows, so you end up being weird, like this is pigeon-toed, and this one is like natural, slightly outward. And then as you move back, this one moves back to its original, and this one will be moving in. So yes, that's an excellent question. And I can add to that, you know, I said several times, things are coordinated, breath and movement or different parts coordinated. This is coordinated, but it's a little subtle because if you're like this and then you're moving that way, this foot should be coordinated, but it does have to go ahead of your body. You have to have a stable foot to put that weight on. Yeah, but it should be subtle. It's not like, and then it's one of the things I find endlessly interesting about Qigong practices are these coordinations, which are not easy.
Yeah. And then one last question
Yeah.
for me. In our breath work, when we were tapping, so it's inhale, tap. I wasn't sure when to pat. Do we pat on a held breath,
Yes.
uh,
And I tend
and
to,
then release on the rhythm?
yeah, release that.
Mhm.
I tend to tap longer. So I've inhaled and I'm holding and I'm still tapping and then I pat just because it seems like the inhale isn't long enough, but that's personal preference. Yeah.
Thank
Mhm. Other questions? So,
Quick question.
yeah,
In Shaolin, do we ever keep our feet parallel or is it always out?
are you talking about the bear or the whole thing?
The bear. I feel like I've seen videos where it's like the feet stay, but
Yeah,
yeah, is that Shaolin?
that's Shaolin, and it might be another version. Uh, Generally speaking, the Qigong I teach is, we call it naturalistic. So we're never pushing the body. Shaolin, that Shifu is in a horse stance that's only like 12 inches off the floor and his feet are parallel. He's been doing that since he was 3 years old. I don't want you to do it, Meredith. So we only have parallel feet when we're in upright, natural stance where our legs are under our hips. As soon as we go wider, look down, and the space between your big and second toe should be centered on your patella. And then moving it is also why we move it, so it stays under the patella. Yeah. But yeah, in the Shaolin, yeah, it's parallel and freaking amazing. Before I just don't have time to do both. And it's not good to start with that because it's very rigorous. But when it's a 12-week series, we do 6 or 4 on this gentle one, and then we move into the Shaolin, and I will try to do that because it's very spring-like. The rigor is very wood and yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to do the liver practice and I want you to follow me. Normally I would give you more language, but I want to end class with us in that embryonic breathing, which is so lovely and wonderful in the evening also. So sit well. I'm going to move back a little bit so you can see. Well, for liver, you don't need to see too much of my lower body. So your liver is on your right side, and it's really big. And I like to start by, laying hands on the organ that we're working with. If you don't really know what it looks like, that's okay. Just know that the full hand here and on the side, you will more or less be touching the liver. First thing I want you to do is smile into your liver. It's one of these silent organs, but I've read that it does like 1,000 chemical transactions a minute. It's working really hard. So send gratitude and appreciation. If a smile to an organ is counterintuitive. Then conjure in your mind some really gorgeous shade of green. And we want to align with spring. So those pale yellowy greens that new buds have is a wonderful place to start. And inhale that green into your liver. See, feel it fill with that green. When you exhale grayness, cloudiness out of your liver. Help your liver to release any stale, stagnant qi. And just a couple breaths, connecting with your liver, energetically supporting it. And as we do that lovely breath, I'm going to feed you some attributes. You do not have to remember them. But the liver is governed by the wood element. Its season is the spring. Its time of day is morning. Its time of life is youth. And the energy of the wood element and the liver, the movement is expansion, all directions. So release your hold on your liver. Inhale, circling your arms. So we lace and reverse. This is my liver side. So I'm going to stretch my liver, give it more physical space, open. The liver sound is SH. Shh. Straighten back up and just come back. Back to your liver. So the whole time we're with an organ, we're inhaling that organ's color, exhaling grayness. I may not say that every breath, but just keep it connected to that part of the process. And as you inhale green and exhale gray, I want you to open yourself and see if you can sit with some of your anger. And try not to get distracted by excuses or explanations, any language or narrative. Just sit with your anger. Inhale that green. Now, as we exhale and make the sound, give voice to some of your anger. Shh. We straighten and return. Don't reject, don't turn away from your anger. Just open yourself more so that you can sit with your kindness and your generosity. Inhale. Same movement. With the sound, invite any of your anger that's ready to transform into kindness. Shh. Turn. Rest from the breath pattern and just sit, staying connected to your liver. In the set of 5 elements, there are 2 that are special. One is fire and the other is water. And in the spirits of our organs, 2 are special. The heart, the fire, is the castle, the home of our Shen, which is our spirit. We have many ways of talking about spirit, many spirits in our body, but this is probably as close to the Western soul as we would get in Tao. So it's important. Our kidneys, our water, also has a spirit that is, we could say, it's in charge of the path of our life. It is in charge of our destiny, meaning everyone has a destiny. we're okay. But if those two things, our spirit and our path or our destiny, don't connect, don't talk, don't somehow relate to each other, life is difficult. So, embryonic breathing, not sure why they call it embryonic, but that's the name. Simply through breath helps those two communicate. We don't try to know what our destiny is. We don't try to envision or connect even directly with our spirit. What we do is use color and breath. So the color of fire, our heart, our Shen is red. The color of water, our kidneys, it's a Z is the name of the spirit, is blue. We use a reverse breath that helps the Z water rise. So as I inhale, gently pull my abdomen in. And as I exhale, I just relax it, no pooching. Pull it in and relax. So first, let's connect and kind of gather those two elemental colors and energies. So with your kidneys, inhale, blue, dark blue. The exhale is just gentle. It's like we're gathering this alchemical water, this love of water. See that whole area get more and more blue. Trust that that will stay. Move to your heart and inhale a rich, quiet red. No fire engine, no super kinetic red. Something deep with depth. Same. Inhale into the whole area of your heart. Gentle exhale. Just connecting and gathering. So trust that that will stay and return to your kidneys. Now, as you inhale and drawing in your abdomen, bring up that blue color and bathe your heart in it. As you exhale, draw that red down and bathe your kidneys in the red. Inhale up and bathe your heart in blue. Exhale, bathe your kidneys in red. Also think of it as drawing the blue water up and it embraces your Shen, your heart, but the embrace of like a mother holding her child. Exhale, the red flows down and embraces your kidneys. So find a breath that you can maintain that won't hyperventilate or hypoventilate, and just stay with that very simple pattern. Finish whatever breath you're making. Allow the pattern to be quiet and just stay with your heart and your kidneys. Stay with your Shen and your Z. Your eyes flutter open. Let's bring down heaven. Sunlight. Starlight. Thank you. So when I post this video and you wish to do this practice, just keep going. This can be 3 minutes. I think we did 3 minutes. Can be an hour. Any final questions? Okay, I will be emailing you tomorrow or Tuesday with a link to the video and information about the tomb that the Eight Brocades was found in. Maybe information about that other woman if it wasn't in her tomb. And next Sunday, the series begins. I'll send that information also. I'd love it if you could join me. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
Thank you. Good to see everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Miranda.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.